In this video, we will talk about Java variables. And coming to the agenda of the video, these are the topics that we will discuss about. So there are two different kinds of Java variables. Those are called primitives and references, and how to declare a variable and what is mean by a spillage, and what are the rules of the Java keywords, and how can you declare an object, create it, and then assign it, and what is mean by this garbage collectible heap, and how objects live and get collected by the garbage, and we will talk about arrays. Now to start off, there are two kinds of variables in Java. One is called primitive and other kind is called references. First, we will understand about primitives. Later on, we will talk about reference variables. So, in the last video, you would have seen this Java class, right? So, this is the Java class. So, this is the dog class. And if you closely observe it, these are called as the instance variables. Okay. Now, and let's say if I declare something called int x here, then this is called as a method variable. So in Java, the variables, like you have two different kinds of variables, primitives and references, but coming to the place where you declare and how you use it, there are two kinds. One is called as the instance variables and one is called as the method variables. So if you look at it, these are declared inside the object or inside the class. These are declared inside the object, like under the dog class you declared it, and these are not declared in any method. So these variables can be used in any of the Java methods. Like let's say if I want to use size, here if you see breed we have used inside this Barkov method. Now later on inside chase cat as well you can use name. Okay, you can use this name. So these class variables or the instance variables, what we can do is those are referred across the methods because these are not declared inside any specific method. So that's why since these are not specific to any method, you can use in all methods that are present in this particular class. So these are called as a class variables, and you also know that class variables store the state of the object. Like if you see, these are the variables what dog knows, right? So dog knows about the size, breed, name. And let's say if dog has put on a weight and then its size increases, so the state of the dog object like changes. So all these called as the state variables, and these are referred across all methods inside a class. And let's come to another variety of variables called method variables. So let's say you have declared like int x, right? Now you would have done something like int x equal to 0 or 5. And let's say you want to use here x. Now, if you want this x to be used in chase cat off, is it possible? Let's say I'll try this. Let us see whether the compiler is giving error or not. If you see the compiler is giving error, cannot resolve symbol x. So because this x is declared inside this method, so this x can be used only inside the bark method. It can't be used in any other methods. So these are called as the method variables or the local variables. So coming to the kinds, there are two kinds. One is the state variables or instant variables or class variable, state variables or instance variables. And then there are other kind of variables called as the local variables or the method variables. These are categorized based on the scope because these all variables are scoped to a class and these are scoped to a method. Okay, and state variables or the method variables can have primitives and references. Okay, now let's talk about the primitive variables. Now if you closely look at it, what we have done is we have declared int and then you have given name as a size. Okay, let's say I can give this name as weight as well. So it's called as the type of the Java variable. Okay. Now, like let's say I can use float weight as well, or like let's say int size I can give, and then float number I can use like this as well. And let's say I want to see whether it's dog or not. This is a boolean variable. So what I have done is I have declared the type. This is the type of the variable and this is the name of the variable, and this name can vary. You can put size, you can put weight, anything. It's according to according to the user who is using it. So type of the variable, if you see you have declared this way, like this is the variable name and this is the type of the variable. Now inside this you can assign values. Okay, now size, let's say you want to default size as 0 for all dog objects, because this is the class, you have not yet created the objects, right? Let's say you want to default 12 as the size of the default size, as size of the dog objects. You can do this. So what you have done, basically you have declared the type of the variable and then you have given the name of the variable and then you have given the value to a variable. Okay. Now what happens is, let's say I consider this as a weight. Okay. Now if you see the weight can't just be 12 or 50 or 60. You can have weight as 54.5 or 52.0. Let's consider the weight of the dog object is 12.5, and you can see error here because this particular int type accepts only integers. It does not accept any decimals. Okay, like point after the, like it can't accept this floating points. It accepts only integers, not any like point or the float values, because 12.5, 12.1, it doesn't accept it. It accepts only the integers. Okay, and let us consider the float. If you see, if I declare the float as 12.5, it will accept it, but for the float you have to, at the end you have to put f. Okay, so whenever you are declaring this as a float, right, you have to put 12, like you can put 12.9 decimal values here, but at the end you have to put f as well. This is the convention that Java follows. Let's say you use double value. Now because integer is not accepting the decimal values, you can use double weight of the dog. Okay, what I'll do is double weight of the dog. Here if I see, I can put 12.9. It accepts it because double decimal values can be put it in the double but not in the int. And let's say I declare this value as like this. So if you see, till this particular value it did not throw any error, but after that, let's say I put 9, it threw error saying, like if you see, integer number too large. So this integer accepts only a certain range, not very, like every type has some range. We are talking about only primitives now. So every type, or like integer has some range, double has some range, float has some range. So it will accept numbers only within that range, and it will not accept, like integer if you take, it will accept only certain range of numbers, but it will not accept double, like decimals as well. Whereas if you look at the double also has some range, but it will not accept numbers beyond the range. It also has some range. Okay, so the main thing to notice here is, whenever you are using variables nothing but which varies. Like now you can put something like this, and later on what you can do is, here weight equal to, you can put something 25. So when the object gets created, this particular weight gets accepted, and when you invoke Barkov method, weight value changes to 20. So the whatever value that is present inside the weight is not a constant. People can change it. Oh, so that's why you name it as a variable. Variable is something where it accepts a certain range of value, like based on the type you define, it has its own limitations, like it accepts only certain range of numbers, it doesn't accept the decimals, and along with that you can change it within that range or within that limitation. You can change the value of these variables. Okay, now let's see, like let's compare this with the real world examples. Now let's say you go to any coffee shop, and based on the type you order, they give you small glasses, large glasses, and then the mm, even large cups like this. So let's say you order a very small coffee, then they will give you in the small cup. And if you order a medium coffee, they can give you in a medium cup. And if you order a little larger coffee, based on the quantity, okay, based on the quantity or based on the type, maybe few types of coffee they give it in a larger quantity, it depends, right? So the cup sizes varies. And so for all these they use either steel or a mm, glass cups, right? And they can't put coffee in the plastic cups. That is very rare. Like if you go to any Starbucks, right? The Starbucks, what they do is they put coffee in variety of sizes, but they all might use glass cups or steel cups like that. But let's say you go to a theater and you order a popcorn. What they do, and they put popcorn in a very thin cup. It's a plastic paper cup, right? In the paper cup you can't put coffee. And like if you see, there are, if you popcorn, if you see, they are giving it in your paper cups. And if you see the coffee, they are giving it in your glass cups or the steel cups. Okay, now you can compare this example with the variable. So variable is something that it can hold. Now even if you see the long cup, it can hold a large quantity of cup. But whereas if you look at this cup, it can, like let's say this accepts only 500 ml coffee and this accepts only 700. This can accept only 800 milliliter coffee and it can accept 1 liter of coffee. Okay, now what happens is, whenever, like let's say like I'm the customer and I go and order a coffee of 800 ml, what they can do, either they can put it in the int or either they can give it in the long, because this can accept the 800 ml. And if they don't have enough 800 ml cups, they can put in the 1 liter as well, because 1 liter can accept the 800 ml cup. But they can't put 800 ml coffee in the 500 ml because it can't hold that, because its capacity is only 500 ml. And let's say you go to a popcorn shop and they give popcorn in a plastic or a paper cup. Let's say if you, like let's say they don't have all these cups like glass cups or the steel cups, will they give you coffee in the paper cup? Definitely not, because coffee is hot and you can't hold that hot coffee or the liquid coffee inside the paper one, because it can't hold it doesn't have that capacity. Okay, so in the same way what you can do is, and you what you can do is, they can, like long cup accepts only certain range like 0 to 1000 ml, and in like this cup accepts only 0 to 500 ml, and this cup accepts 0 to 500, like 0 to 800 ml, and this one accepts 0 to 500 ml, this one 0 to 500 ml, this accepts 0 to, let's say 0 to 200 ml. And based on the, here you can compare the same thing, like integer if you try to give the long number, it did not accept, right? Maybe you can consider this cup as this one. And if you want to hold even a larger value, what you can do is, you can either go with the long. There is one more variable, one more Java kind called long. Okay, let's say Java weight 2. And if you can give even larger number, it holds. See, because it holds, the only thing is you have to specify L at the end, it holds it. So if you want to use even larger than the range that int accepts, you can go with another variety. Okay, now these are all the, like int, long, double float, all accepts integers. So here if you see, these are all of different sizes, but these are all accepts coffee. But if you go to the popcorn shop and the plastic cup like whatever the paper cup they give, it can't accept the coffee, right? And the same thing goes here. Let's say there is a boolean actually holds either true or false. Now if you try to give some integer here, it won't accept it. Let's say I give 12, it won't accept, because boolean accepts only true or false, like true or false. If you give true, it accepts it. And there is one more primitive variable called character. Character accepts only the character variables. Let's say name. What it can do, it can accept C, or okay, it can accept only C, but it can't accept true or false or these integers, because this boolean is designed only to accept true or false, and this character is designed only to accept in like these characters, like new alphabets like A, B, C kind of thing, only a single character. Okay, so it accepts only this. Likewise, this particular paper cup can't accept the coffee, though it holds 1 liter of pop, like though it can hold the quantity 1 liter, but the kind it is made of, because since it's a plastic and it can't hold liquid materials, that to hot coffee, so this can't accept. The same way, though the boolean and character has, like it might accept the size greater whatever you want for the integer, like let's say you want to store 50 bits, though character and the boolean can accept can hold 50 bits longer value, but the kind you are trying to insert is integer, it can't hold the integers here. Let's say I do 1, it can't hold integers here. Okay, like for the boolean I try to use false, right? I try to use 1, it can't hold it, because the kind it is made of is different. Okay, so what you can do is you can compare these variables with these holders. So basically, whenever you consider the variable, right, what you are doing, you declare the type. So this is the most important, because whatever values you insert here, it will accept only according to the restrictions of this particular thing. Okay, and all the variables are kind of a holders, they hold some value. Like here, this particular paper cup holds popcorn, and this cup holds 1000 ml of the coffee. So these are all the holders, and the name of the cup you give it as a type of the variable. So the name of the cup is the type of the variable, and then it can hold the whatever value you insert here, and inside the cup you can have that value. Okay, now if you see the float and double or of kinds, if you see these are the cups, float and double accepts a different variety because it accepts the decimal values, and boolean and character it accepts a different kinds of values, right? So if you see, this is the type of the variable and this is the name of the variable, and into this you can assign the values. Okay, now let's see like when you talk about primitives, what are actually primitives? Primitives are the ones which which hold bits, like computer bits. If you see 0 and 1 are the bits, right? So now let's say I want to add 12 value here. What it does is it converts 12 to the binary bits, and then it hold that bit value here. Okay, so all the primitive values hold the computer binary bit values, whereas the object references, it does not the way object references operate is a little different, that we will discuss it in some time. Now if you see here, when you say 12, what it does is it will declare, so okay, int is the type, it will declare some cup or any holder which can hold integer variables, and whatever is the size of the integer, it initiates a cup according to that size, and it converts the 12 value into the bits, and it stores the bits into that. And let's say if you see, byte is even shorter than integer. Okay, byte is even shorter than integer. Let's say to byte you have added 12, and if you try to assign that byte to the integer, it won't work, because if you assign integer, like vice versa doesn't happen. Like let's say integer is the 12, if you assign b like wait to byte, it won't work, like it throws error. because if you see, byte is the short cup and integer is the longer cup. And let's say this integer has some 1,000 value, like as I said in the coffee example, this you can put this coffee like 200 ml coffee into 800 ml, but you can't put 800 ml coffee to the 200 ml. The same thing you can compare it with here. You can't assign the larger range values to the shorter ones, but you can assign shorter range values to the larger one. Let's say in few cases, if you don't have enough 200 ml cups, what you can do, you can put it in the 800 ml and can still give it. It will still work. Okay, so the same thing here. And this integer range is longer than the byte, and so you can't assign the longer integer range to the bytes. And whereas if you look at byte value, let's say I try to assign byte values to the integers, weight equal to b, vice versa, it will work, because let's say weight equal to b. What you can do is, so yeah, let's say I do it in the method here, weight equal to b. It will work because weight is the longer one, integer is the longer than byte. But let's say if you look at b equal to weight, right, it won't see, it throws error, because b byte is shorter than integer range, that's why it won't accept it. Okay, now if you look at, if you recap, a variable or the type, Java cares about the type. Everything is according to the type. It's just the name, you change it and you assign any values here. Okay, now whatever you declare and whatever type you declare, Java like follows the rules of that. Okay, let's see few more examples related to the primitive. Okay, now I can show these examples. Now integer x, so integer, like there are multiple ways of assigning the values. So the one simple case is, you can declare the type of the variable and then you can declare name and then you can assign value as well. This is one type, one method of assigning the values to a variables. And one more method is this one. What you can do is, first you can just declare the variable, you give the type and then you declare variable, and whatever thing that is there before equals, left hand side of the equals is called the declaration and the right hand side is called the assignment, because you are assigning some value. You are actually putting or pouring coffee into the cup, so you are assigning the value to the variable. Okay, so directly straightforward you can do in a single step, integer by equal to 10. So what it does is, it will create a it will create a cup according it will create cup according to the type of the integer and the size of the integer, and then it will convert 10 into the binary bits and it will store it. And one more thing is, let's say you declare this as int x. What it does is, it will just create a holder or a cup according to the size and the type of the integer, but it will not put any value. Like it will have some empty cup like this. And when you assign 234 to the x, then actually what it does is, it will convert 234 into bits and then it will assign that 234, or it will put that 234 inside here. Like if you see, it will put 234 here, like by 100 or something. Okay, so this is one more way of doing assigning the values. And other way is, like let's say what happens is, integer y equal to 10 and you have declared integer x. I can put y also here. So directly you are not putting the value, you are taking the another value and then putting it here. Okay, so this is another way. So the first way is doing it in a single step process, and the second way is just declare it and assign a constant value, something like that. Or you can also do like x equal to y. These are the three ways of declaring and assigning values to a primitive or to any variable inside the Java. So this is of integer. Okay, now let's see byte. Byte accepts 89 because byte accepts integers, right? And you have given integers here, so that works fine. And if you look at Boolean accepts only true or false. Since you have given true, it will accept, it will not throw any compiler error. And the second, third, and the another one is double. So double accepts decimal values, as I said. So if you give the decimal values, it will accept it. And when you look at the character, it will accept only a single character, right? So since, and this has to be given in a quotes, okay? Now since you have given character inside the quotes, it will accept it. Now as I said, right, while declaring, like while assigning the values to a variable, either you can put a constant value or you can put value of another variable. Okay, now either here what you have done is you have directly assigned 10. Now what we are doing here is you are assigning the value of x into the z. Okay, and the other way of is you can just declare the variable and later on you can assign the value, like is punk rock equal to false. And the other thing is, first you declare the variable, later on assign the value of another variable here, as I said above. And if you look at the long, it will accept only integers, but the only thing is you have to specify L at the end. And for the float, it will accept decimal values, but at the end you have to specify F. And these are the things that I have specified, okay? Like longer data types hold the shorter data types value, but whereas the short data types cannot hold long data types values. So since byte is shorter than int, it can't hold integer values. You might say, okay, so though 20 byte accepts some range, but 24 comes under the range that byte accepts. So people think that, okay, since 24 is a shorter value that is within the range of the byte, why is it throwing error? So what Java compiler does is it will not look at the value of the variable. It looks at what type you are going to insert inside the byte. So it doesn't like 24, like if you assign 24 here, it will still work, okay, because 24 comes under the byte range. But what happens is it will not look at the value that you have put inside this p variable. It just looks at the what is the type of p. It just looks at the type of the p. So whenever you look at this statement, what people say is y is of type integer, because whatever you declare here, that comes. Y is of type integer. Okay, when you say type is nothing but a class. Okay, yeah. Now let's see a few other things. Value assignments are of three types, as I have said. So first thing is you declare a variable and then you assign the value. That can be done in multiple ways. Now what here they have done is directly they have declared a variable and then assign the value. Directly they have declared a variable and assigned the value for all these three steps. And here what they have done is they have declared the variable, but they have not assigned any value. That they have done it here. This is another way. And one more way is what you can do is you can take another variable and then you can do assignments. Like you can do some operations, like you can do x plus 456, x minus 456, x into 456. So you can do assignments like this as well. Okay. So these are all about primitives, because primitive variables are the ones which store binary bits. Okay, like let's say when you say 32, it can be directly converted into the bits and you can store it. So all this comes under the primitive. Now let us see what are all the primitive variables that Java holds. Okay. If you see here, these are all the primitive types. Now, if there are 8 primitive types, first one is Boolean and character, and the second one is all numeric. So, in the Boolean and character, they hold only true or false, or they hold only a single character. And that can be categorized into one type, and the another type is numeric values. Okay, and inside the numeric also you have two types. The category which holds only normal integers, and the category which holds the decimal values as well. So if you look at it here, float and double hold decimal values, whereas the integer, byte, short, int, long, they don't hold the decimal values. Okay, and if you see, this is the range that it accepts, and what is the size of that range. Let's say if you consider byte, it can, these are all the sign means it can accept the negative values as well as the positive values. Minus 128 to 127 values can be put inside the byte. Okay, and inside the short, this is the 32,768 to 32,766. It can put all these values inside the short. And if you consider the integer, this is the value that it holds, whereas the long, it holds any large value beyond this. Okay, and when you convert 128 into the binary bits, it will have 8 bits. Okay, and when you convert 32,768, it will have 16 bits. So maximum, like maximum size, like let's say you are giving a cup of a coffee. So what is the range that a cup accepts? Whatever the maximum quantity it can hold, that is the range of the, or the capacity of the cup, right? So here, since it is holding 32,766, when it gets converted into the bits, it will have the 16 bits. So the maximum that it can hold is 16 bits. And when you convert this into the bits, it will have 32 bits, zeros and ones. So maximum it can hold 32 bits. Okay, and then you have the long, it can hold even beyond. Okay, and for the boolean, true or false. So true or false can be, it varies according to the JVM, because JVMs are the OS specific, right? Platform specific, because it converts the bytecode into the OS, whatever that is underlying. And when you see the character, according to the, like if you see the keyboard, there are multiple characters, there are special symbols as well. Okay, when it converts into the bits, the maximum length of the symbol, that, like let's say it converts brackets also into the bits. So whatever the maximum, like when it converts the symbol to the bits, whatever is the maximum length that it had obtained is the 16 bits. So it can hold up to 16 bits. Okay, so all these comes under the primitive types, and there is object refer, these are all the primitive variables, and there are reference variables as well. We will discuss about the reference variables and the remaining things in the next video. Now what we have covered is, we have covered how you declare a variable and what is mean by a spillage. Okay, and the related to the objects we will cover in the next video.